Hello YouTube! Welcome again to my channel. I am Prometea, the Tyrannosaurus girl. So today I'm going to be answering another question, which is going to be what are the pros and the cons of being transgender? This is actually a very interesting question and a very interesting mental exercise, because I have learned to be a very positive person with generally a very positive outlook in life and very optimistic, and always try to see the good in things. But when it comes to being transgender, seeing the positive side of it is really difficult. Now, I received this question more than a month ago, and I have been since trying to see anything positive about it, so that I wouldn't make a video that was completely negative. So anyway, I'm going to start with cons, so that we can get to the positive later. Well, the first is physical dysphoria. For those of you that don't know the word, dysphoria is a Latin word that means discomfort. It's that sensation. The physical dysphoria is the most concrete manifestation of our gender dysphoria. It's that feeling that we get when we perceive our body in any way and we see that it's wrong. Of course, different people manage it in different ways. For some it's kind of more manageable than for others, but there are people for whom the feeling is so severe that they have gotten to harm themselves, not only because of depression with, self-harm and cutting themselves and that, but also I know the case of a certain trans woman. When she was a young girl, she would press her testes in between two wooden planks, and then she would hammer them, hoping that she would be able to completely destroy them, or at least to damage them enough that a doctor would have to extract them, which didn't happen. Regardless of how well we manage that, it's a very strong feeling that is always present, and it's even stronger every time we see ourselves in a mirror or in a photograph, or when we want to have sex with somebody, or when we shower. It's a constant reminder, and it's an almost constant sensation that is always eating us from the inside. And then there is something that is common from both trans people that come out in their teen years and those that do it as adults, which is being excluded from the family and from the home. Even though there is like a wave of very comprehensive and understanding parents in the last few years, the reality for the majority of transgender youth is that when they come out to their families, they end up being kicked out from the house and being expelled from all family activities as well, like completely forgotten by the family. They lose the most important support and love that they need as teenagers or as kids. And then that can also happen to adults that already have their life put together in a way, that they are married and have children, but when they come out, that's usually a very hard hit on the marriage, as much that it often ends up not just in divorce, but the spouse usually turns their back on them so much that it's very common that they are not allowed to see their children anymore. And then there is bullying in schools. Young people are teaching us a lot about tolerance and acceptance, but still the reality worldwide for most transgender people in school is that they suffer bullying by their schoolmates. And it can be both physical and verbal attacks, and the physical attacks can be so violent that they have put the health of many trans people at risk. But even when it doesn't get to the point of a physical attack, that verbal harassment can be so severe that it can cause very deep psychological problems in the person. Then, putting those two together, if you don't have support from your family and you get harassed in school, most transgender people don't finish basic studies, let alone going to university. Then, as a consequence of that, but not just as a consequence of that, we have a very hard time getting into the job market. On one side, we have the majority of trans people who didn't manage to get a good education and have a hard time getting a job just because of that. But then even those that got a good education, they don't get hired. Most companies don't want to employ trans people. In my case in particular, I transitioned quite late in life. I chose not to go into the university, but I have an extensive job experience. And since I transitioned, that job experience is worthless just because I'm trans. they are not willing to hire me for the jobs I'm qualified for. Of course, there are jobs that they are willing to give to trans people, like cleaning or as cashiers in supermarkets. There's nothing wrong with those jobs, but when I apply for those jobs, before they know I'm trans, they just see my experience, they think I'm overqualified, so they don't even bother calling me. And a variation of that is the reality for most trans people. I have the statistics here in Uruguay. 89% of trans women work in prostitution. And of that 11% that doesn't work in prostitution, the majority, they have their own business. They weren't hired by anybody. And then, as a consequence of all the previous one, comes the next one. Trans people are the group of people with the biggest probability of being homeless. And that brings us to the next one. We have a very high rate of substance abuse. And then, regardless of the specific situation that we are living in, we have a very hard time finding romantic partners. Regardless of being hetero or being gay or lesbian, we generally reach a point, when we meet somebody and we have nice chemistry and we like each other, where the fact that we're trans becomes an issue. What we do have a really easy time finding is a type of people that is very undesirable, and that is admirers. Admirers are people that want to be with us just because of the fact that we are trans. They have an obsession with our genitals. And then there is harassment and violence in the streets. Of course, there are some places where the situation is better, but the majority of us live in fear. Whenever we leave the house, we suffer verbal harassment by random people. They just yell at us, they laugh at us. When they don't straight up attack us physically. There are trans people that have suffered physical violence, that have been attacked by random groups of people, and even by the police. The police has killed trans people, and that leads 41% of transgender people to attempt suicide at some point in their lives. And then there is the financial cost of transition, from all the medical procedures, from surgeries to hair removal to hormone treatment to therapy. All of that can add up to about $180,000. In many places that is the price of a house, and it's the price of a luxury sport car. So if we, regardless of all the previous difficulties, can somehow manage to accumulate all that money, that is all going to medical expenses, because in most places we don't have coverage either by public healthcare system or by insurance companies. And well, those are the cons that I could think of. Then about the pros, I really had to do a lot of thinking to see what things I could see as positives of the trans experience. And well, one of them would be a different type of perspective that some of us have. The ones that, like me, had transitioned at a late point in life, that we were socialized initially as the gender that was assigned at birth to us, because having had those experiences as the opposite gender, it gives us like a different type of insight on some things. Like we have an easier time establishing certain empathy and understanding our opposite gender. And then another thing that we can consider a pro would be something that is actually related to something that I didn't mention between the cons, but it is one, and it's that a lot of people in our life turn their backs to us once we come out as trans. Even people that may be watching this video, even people that consider themselves to be accepting, to be tolerant, once they find themselves with real life trans people in their close circles, in their family, they may at some point start to feel like embarrassed of being seen with a transgender person. This is not to say that friends of cisgender people are necessarily mean and evil, but there is always this chance of someone being fake, being insincere in their friendship. That's the thing, that for trans people, anyone that is fake, anyone that is not sincere, vanishes. We have this insincerity filter in a way that we know for sure that those people that stay by our sides, they really are sincere and they really are truthful in their friendship and in their love. As you can see, the list is pretty unbalanced. It has much more cons than pros. So please tell me if you think I forgot any pro or any con. And there is still these people that say that being transgender is a choice. So this is a question I'm asking all of you right now. Looking at this list of pros and cons, would you choose to be trans? Oh, well, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm posting new videos every Friday, so if you like the video and you want to receive more, please subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up and a comment. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Well, see you next Friday. Bye bye.